Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mondays with Mike. And in this episode, it's not a really super fun one. We're not really going to go over anything that's necessarily exciting. It's actually something that's hazardous, and it's going to be happening here over the next few hours. We're actually looking for the chance for an outbreak of severe weather here locally. It's not going to be lasting that long, but it is going to affect your afternoon. And as I mentioned this morning on the air, nothing is off the table. By that, I mean heavy rain is a likelihood, at least briefly. Tons of lightning, a chance for some large hail, maybe like egg-sized hail, a chance for some street flooding, a chance for the power to go out, even a chance for some high straight line winds or downburst winds coming in that wouldn't be associated with a tornado necessarily. And of course, there also is always an outside chance that you get in on an isolated tornado as well. So, I want to share with you a few things why we're so concerned, and not just, us here at Fox 26, but the National Weather Service and some of the sort of rare, circumstances that are taking place out there right now. And also, by the way, Fox 26 Storm Alert Day. This is our way of letting you know that you're going to have, it's like a weather impact day. This is the kind of day when you see Fox 26 Storm Alert Day, it means I need to pay attention, because even though we're not under a watch or warning necessarily, although we will be, this lets you know that things might be going downhill pretty quickly. So let's go ahead, and I want to share with you some of our computer models and some of the timing of everything and one of the concerns. And so right now, what I'm showing you right now is the Severe Thunderstorm Outlook. Now this comes to us from NOAA, NOAA's Storm Prediction Center. It's the SPC, and they're based out of Oklahoma. And they highlight the areas of the country that are at greatest risk for seeing severe weather. And then they break it down further by hail threat, high wind threat, and things like that. So this particular graphic, we have a legend here at the top, and the legend lets us know from areas that are least likely to see thunderstorms to where we have that really, really rare, extreme severe thunderstorm threat. At this point, we are at a 3, very likely. And we don't get that really often. Most of the time, we'll be in that 1 or 2, the possible or even sometimes the likely category. By the way, if you're ever looking at this online, or you may see another map posted, we do modify, and so does Fox Weather, modifies the naming of these things, because the way the Storm Prediction Center does it is very odd. I don't know why they do it this way, but like, for example, what we have labeled as likely, they call slight. But slight is actually pretty likely. And 3, which we call very likely, they call enhanced. And 4, what we call significant, they call moderate. So it's like if I were to tell you there's a moderate risk for severe weather today, it doesn't sound that bad, but in reality, it usually designates an area with a very significant severe weather outbreak. So we just think this is a way better way to communicate this to you, and our friends at Fox Weather do this as well. So anyway, notice here across our area, I want to zoom out here and just show you that stretching from Austin and San Antonio, all the way across Houston, across Baton Rouge and New Orleans, all the way back over to Pensacola, a very large part of the country is at risk for seeing severe weather today, and in this number 3 category. Now here locally, our entire area, and this is rare also, is under this risk for severe weather. And we'll look at the timing of all this here coming up in just a minute, but I will let you know that it really is going to be a short window of opportunity between around maybe 1:30 or 2 and about maybe 7 o'clock tonight-ish. During that window of opportunity, everything's going to be surging in from the west, and that'll give us our maybe 4 or 5 hour window of seeing some of the really heavy rain and really, really nasty weather, and then it's going to move on out. So anyway, this is the severe weather outlook. Now I want to change this over to something that's a bit more concerning, and this is the severe hail outlook. So specifically, we could break it down by severe weather type. And there's, again, this large area from Laredo and San Antonio and Austin back across to Houston and over to Louisiana that's at risk for not only seeing that red area where there's a higher risk for seeing hail, but where you see these dashed lines, these hashed lines, that is where the Storm Prediction Center anticipates large hail. And so they're talking about 2 inches in diameter or larger. So I would call that like egg size hail. Maybe like the size of a peach. I mean, if we were to get that, it's usually something that causes roof damage, causes really serious damage to cars too. So, just to sort of hammer out some of the details here, if you can get your car parked in a carport or a garage or under any kind of covered parking, maybe even a tree, I suppose. Don't stand under the tree, but it might help to break the fall of some of the hail. Anyway, but then again, if you have high winds, you wouldn't want the tree knocked down. I'm trying to save your car from being totaled, actually, because if you get hail damage on your car and it breaks the windshield and maybe it breaks the or it breaks the back windshield and puts dents all over your hood and your roof and your back trunk and all of that stuff, there's a chance that it might get totaled. And if it does get totaled, I've never had this happen, but I mean, from everything I hear, if it does get totaled, then you're really going to take a huge financial hit unless you have that sort of gap coverage or whatever on your insurance, which most people don't have, where the value that you're going to get for your car is probably, you know how expensive cars are now. The value you get for your car is going to be way less than what you could buy a car for. So you're going to end up really, really getting, messed up by this hail, if we get the hail. One thing I will say, too, when it comes to hail, is that it's also rare for the hail to cover a large area. Most of the time you get what's called a hail core, and that's when the updraft from the storm becomes too weak to support the hail, and the hail falls out of it. And then once that hail falls out, it's kind of over until the next storm comes along. So it's definitely possible that the hail that we do get is going to be limited in coverage. But if it hits you, that's all that matters, right? So we'll zoom in on this again here and just show you that our entire area is under this risk for severe hail. Right now, the Storm Prediction Center shows that maybe the atmosphere is better tilted or set up toward hail to the north of Pearland, to the west of Sugarland, those areas, but that includes pretty much the entire area. Even the yellow area down to the coastline is not a picnic either. It just means that the highest likelihood is going to be in the spots that I highlighted. What about wind damage? We've had some of that recently. Remember, we had a huge tree got knocked down in Kingwood about, all these things run together a week and a half ago or so. Thursday before last. This is the severe wind outlook. Now, when we talk about severe winds, we're not talking about tornadoes. We're talking about straight line winds, which would push along with a squall line, like a line of thunderstorms. Or it can be like a downdraft that comes out of a thunderstorm. Or it could even be like a downburst, microburst kind of thing that is just this dense air that falls down out of a storm. So again, our area here is at risk for severe winds, which would be, severe thunderstorm would be 55 to 60 mile per hour winds. But where you see these black hash marks here, now you're talking about 70, 75 mile per hour winds or higher. And it doesn't mean the whole area like a hurricane. It just means when you get in those individual heavy thunderstorm cells, you're going to run the risk of having some really nasty interactions. And again, the timing between approximately 2 and 7. Some of the models I'll show you here in a minute are pushing it back a little bit later on in the day. But this is going to be a problem. So one of the issues that we have is that kids are getting out of school. Let me show you the timing of some of this. So I'm going to show you 3 computer models, actually. And the reason I'm showing you 3 is the same reason during hurricane season that we look at those spaghetti model plots. You know what I'm talking about. We show you the European model, the American model, and one of the other shorter term models like the hurricane weather research forecast model. There's a bunch. Because what you look for is agreement. When those models all agree with each other, you can be more confident in the direction and the intensity and things like that. When the models don't agree with each other, then it's a whole lot harder to do that. I'm going to hit pause here. Pause. Actually, in going back and forth in the middle of taping a show here, which is why you see the lights just went up real quick, because we had the after show going on. I have the noon show coming up, and then we got Ramisha coming in. Believe me, it's a lot to juggle. But as far as the timing is concerned, here's the future cast for the Graph computer model. Graph is it's a global rapid update atmospheric forecast model. Graph. I'm telling you, meteorology, they love acronyms. So anyway, here's the timing of this one, which is this model was created by IBM. So this is 12:30 when basically when you're watching this, some showers starting to pop up. But let me go ahead and put this in motion here. By 2 p.m., some thunderstorms moving into the area, and watch what it does here by around 3 or 3:30. That's when we start to see some heavy stuff coming down. This particular model is showing a lot of rain to the south of Houston, as opposed to what we're seeing elsewhere. Now check this out. This is the HRRR. The HRRR is NOAA's short. It's kind of like NOAA's version of that model, or that model is IBM's version of NOAA's model. But so here's what we're looking at as we head into the afternoon. Notice this model by 3 p.m. does not show the rain over Houston. It's showing it taking a little bit longer to get here. But by 3:30, 4 o'clock, you see that white spot right in the middle of your screen? I mean, that's one of those intense downpours where we could see some hail. And then it moves across the area 5 o'clock, 5:30, which means the afternoon commute and all of that stuff. So, and then it all moves out of here by around 9 or 10. But this is a big deal for picking up the kids from school, for getting yourself safely home from work, and all of that as well. At 3:30. All right, so I'm back, and I just did a talk real quickly with Delon and Nate and John Stenval from Backstage OL, and was giving our after show folks, which comes on at from 10 to 10:30, was giving them an update on what was happening here. So we have so much stuff that goes on Fox Local like this, and the after show, which is a 30-minute kind of podcast fun kind of thing that we do on the air after the morning news goes off the air. So anyway, there's a lot to talk about. Let me take you up here. I don't think that I showed this to you yet. So let's check out the, okay, I showed you the HRRR. Now this is what is called the Barron model. Barron is another, it's our radar company, our radar supplier. It also is the designer of one of our weather graphics computers systems, software systems. And so let me show you what this one is depicting. Again, remember we saw that the HRRR model was showing the heaviest of the rain 4, 5, 6 o'clock. The graph model was showing more like 3 o'clock. And this one, I think, is also slower. So we'll put this into motion here, and it's actually showing some of these individual cells showing up here by 2:15. These are ones that could be severe, hail and maybe even tornadoes. Can't rule that out. And then coming up for the afternoon, notice how this one is way later with the rain, showing it coming in between 5 and 7. So that's why you got to it's like the advice that they give, like if you're playing, football or whatever. So you got to keep your head on a swivel because you got people coming at you from all sides. You got to almost be prepared for anything. So the rain could hit as early as 2 or 3, could hold off the worst of it until 4, 5, 6, 7. So during that whole time frame between around 2 and 7, We need to be on guard. And again, that means getting the kids safely home from school and preparing for maybe the power to go out. So let's, I put my finger here to help me change the edit to edit everything. So back on camera here, my advice for the day today, I mean, honestly, look, I live life just like all of you do. I've got the kids coming home from school just like you do. I've got to get myself home from work just like you do. So I'll have to talk to my wife here coming up here in a few minutes, just like you should talk to whoever else is in your family to make sure they know what's coming in, because I guarantee you a lot of people do not know. Sometimes we assume that people know because we assume that they heard the weather forecast and stuff, but a lot of times they don't know. So check in with them and make sure they know that the weather could get really bad today. Sometimes there's things planned after school. Like I think my daughter has tennis. She's in a little tennis group. Nothing formal or anything, but she's got that after school today, and I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Swimming pools, things like that, not a good idea. Soccer practice, not a good idea, because you don't want to be outdoors when there could be a sudden bolt. You know, lightning can strike many miles from the parent thunderstorm. Sometimes you'll get a random lightning bolt that comes out maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 miles away from the storm. And so, you know, the rule is when thunder roars, head indoors. And it sounds cheesy, but it's like just a good way to remember it, I suppose, that if you can hear the thunder, then the storm is close enough for the lightning to hit you. And whenever you have groups of people outside, a lot of the injuries from lightning that take place and, you know, unfortunate fatalities and so forth happen. Golf, I think, is number one. Soccer is another one. And boating, fishing, boating, things like that. Those are three of the most hazardous activities you could do because you're out there on this wide field. And sometimes if lightning hits one part of the field, it can actually send out like tendrils and shock a lot of people. So that's, you know, obviously a danger. I don't know what to suggest. Like, what do you think? If you have, let's say you have middle schoolers or high schoolers who don't usually get picked up at the bus stop, or even the bigger elementary school students, I think, probably walk themselves home from the bus stop too, but more middle school and high school. If it's pouring down rain and lightning and everything, hopefully you're available, or maybe a neighbor or somebody's available to pick them up at the bus stop, because it's just not safe to be running through that. Not just because the rain is heavy, but, you know, God forbid there's a tornado or lightning or something like that. So, and by the way, this has been quite a pattern, hasn't it? I mean, we've had such heavy rain. You know, we had our 20-inch plus, you know, downpours that happened off to the north of Houston. We've had rounds of wind damage. We had, unfortunately, very sadly, a deadly tornado in Trinity, which killed a Conroe police officer, hit a trailer. So it's already been quite a severe weather season. You know, in the month of April, there were 300 tornadoes across the United States. And an average year, we have about 1,200. So on, you know, some years you'll have 900, some years you'll have 1,500. But an average year, you'll have 1,200 tornadoes, and we had 300 just in April. So it has been a very busy season. And looks like it's going to continue to stay that way because we have rain today, and then we have another round of rain, actually. Let me go ahead and pull up the 7-day forecast. So we have another round of rain that's going to be coming in here on Thursday and Friday. Right now, kind of just optimistically, conservatively putting this 60% rain chance, but it could end up being rainier than that. I think it looks like, especially on Friday. So that's obviously something to keep in mind as well. We're watching the Brazos River. We're watching the Trinity River. The San Jacinto River could start to swell again. And so far, the bayous in Houston are in pretty good shape. But, any additional rain could complicate matters a little bit faster since, we're still recovering, still actually draining some of the water from the previous few downpours that we've had. So anyway, stay safe out there today, guys. Again, it still looks like maybe as early as 2, possibly lasting as late as 7 or 8. And we'll be watching it for you. Tell your friends and family about Fox Local. It's a way to get extras. Like we'll be doing updates on Fox Local through the afternoon when we won't necessarily be on Fox 26, traditional on air. We'll be doing updates on Fox Local. You could also get the Fox 26 weather app because it'll default to your location. And if there are any watches issued for your area, it'll come up with that. And more importantly, if there are any warnings. Remember, a watch just means conditions are favorable. It's like you have all the ingredients for something to happen. The warning means it's happening. So if you hear tornado warning or even severe thunderstorm warning, it means that there could be hail, damaging winds, and all that stuff headed in your exact location. So you definitely want to take heed because it doesn't always take a tornado to cause serious damage. Sometimes the straight line winds and the downbursts and things like that can cause almost as much damage. So want to try to keep everybody safe today. Shout out to my mom. Happy Mother's Day. And Neil, my brother Neil, doing great, following his eye procedure. He's back at it and doing great. And let's see, any more shout-outs I have to give? I think that's it. So anyway, guys, stay safe out there. Ramisha Shade is going to be in all afternoon and evening for you watching as this weather takes a turn for the worse. And by the way, tomorrow and Wednesday are going to get really hot. So pick your poison, super hot or really rainy. So there we go. Hope you guys have a great day. And thanks for joining me here for Mondays with Mike.